We work a lot in the rare diseases sector, and the comments you just made at the end there, if you spoke to any rare disease company, they would be thinking, oh my word, I wish we could plug into this. And if they knew that GPs were sharing a constellation of seemingly unrelated symptoms about a particular patient, and to think that in 5 minutes you might get an answer, this patient has Pompe disease or Fabry disease, they would love that. Is there any way you think of that could be formalized in some way so that it would help identify patients who suffer from rare diseases?
I think one of the problems with making it formalized is actually by making it formalized, the users themselves, it is no longer their space. So it would have to be done in a way that it's retained that this is their discussion. Because one of the things that people want to do is control discussions. And one of the things that is very different about our site is that we have guidelines, no personal attacks, no sort of, yes, they are allowed to use rude language, but, essentially we do have rules and regulations, but they're minimal. As soon as you try and formalize things, often what happens is that people stop discussing, they will withdraw, and you lose that value. And that's why I say, just be very wary if you're going to try and control a conversation.
Okay. So Julie from Raremark, again on rare disease, but still applicable to other conditions. So this is a UK forum, so GMC Validation UK forum. Do you have conversations that are international for doctors?
I will put it, we're working on it. Okay. We've just recently launched the EU site, which does have a forum which is in its infancy. DoctorsNet UK has obviously been going for quite a number of years, and therefore the discussions are quite, people are used to it. Whereas in other areas, they're not used to the same conversations. So we would put something like the Ebola blog, say a Zika blog, and actually put content up that will have forum discussion embedded within it, in the hope that actually what you begin to do is, once you've got enough content that's then sparking people to discuss on the forum, they will then see that that is a good place to go and discuss with regard to cases. So I can't say that we've got it yet, but obviously we have the experience of what's happened in the UK and a new website where we are planning for that to happen.
We'll crowdsource the answer in the room. I think, anyone here from the BMJ? No, I thought I saw Simon, but ex-BMJ. I think you can do it on the BMJ, internationally. Don't quote me. Medscape, can you internationally speak? So okay, so on Medscape you can talk across country as well, so you can share. So there are a few, but it gets tougher, I guess. So, okay, any other questions for either of or any of the three speakers?
Hi, question for Chris. Gary Duncan from Agency Advisor. In terms of the adoption of multi-channel marketing, all of the digital stuff that we've been seeing today, across all the companies you've worked with, you're saying 18 out of 20 are on Veeva, so you've seen the growing adoption. To what extent is IT, commercial IT, the infrastructure within those companies, a barrier to the adoption of digital? Or any other factors?
Okay, I think it's a great question, because if you look at how pharma companies tend to be structured, the idea of sort of sales as its own organisation has existed for a long time. Sales forces are a huge part of the sort of headcount at the affiliate level. They have their own requirements in terms of their IT infrastructure. They do things very differently in the sales domain than in other parts of the business. So one of the challenges when we look at who is the buyer of CRM? The buyer of CRM historically is sales IT. Sales and IT determine what system the sales reps are going to be using. But that sort of positioning of this is the CRM piece which is only being used for the sales reps versus this is a platform that the whole business is using is undoubtedly challenging how these businesses think about their customer systems and their customer architecture. So it is a real problem. and it continues to be a problem to, looking forward. But we're seeing a lot of businesses doing a lot of work to break down those historic silos internally and identify their sort of customer infrastructure as a horizontal capability in the business. I mean, sorry for the kind of the sort of IT-ish answer, but the reality that marketing still dominate the commissioning and procurement of digital services, and there's little dialogue between marketing around digital commissioning and sales about customer execution. And you think, how can you have multi-channel if you haven't got a coherent approach to what are we doing with customers and how do we join up what a brand team is formulating and procuring through an agency, and that is being moving from a situation where that's a standalone resource to one where that's a resource which is integrated. So what you learn through an app is feeding into what the rep team or the medical team or the key account team are trying to work out. How do we better respond to these customers rather than just relying on this is what my peers within the sales team are telling me.
Okay, any more?
Can I just add to that on the NHS side of things? I actually got a call from an NHS trust saying, community-based trust saying, we've just issued 800,000 odd laptops to community nurses. Do you have any apps that we can put on the laptops? So, yeah, a bit of an ask about face sort of way of going about it, but this is the NHS after all. But nevertheless, there's obviously a desire there to use IT in some form to reach out to people at home. But again, it's finding all those various parts and actually hooking them all up together. But there's a market there to be tapped in terms of having long-term care, digital long-term care via laptops, etc. But it's just difficult to find that at the moment on the NHS side.
Okay. Right. We'll close. I need 60 seconds after you clap these four. But, guys, thanks very much.